So welcome to a wonderful feast we have in store for you. We invite you to put your comments, blurt outs, feedback, and praise in the chat. We ask that you remain muted throughout the performances, and we hope that you feel guided this evening by poetry, music, and delight. And we invite you to participate if you'd like to. So I'm going to just hand over to Gemma really quickly, who'll invite you to.
Okay, so if you would like to perform anything towards the end of our coven, then just pop your name in the chat, and we will make sure that you get your time. I'd also really like to introduce Georgia. She's introduced herself in the chat, but maybe if Georgia's happy to turn her camera on and just wave or give a little wave icon. She is there in case anyone needs to chat, so you can send her private messages and she'll be there for your support and access, as well as for the support and access of the performers. We will have captions, but the captions open in another window. They're not perfect, but they can be really helpful for those who need them. So if you just give us 1 second, we will sort that out for you. The Otter AI will join the Zoom at the start. Okay, I'm going to be your host for the evening. Alongside Eleanor, we work quite naturally together. We like to chip in and not interrupt each other, but just weave ourselves together as performers, I think, which is, I enjoy it. We hope you enjoy it too. I'm just going to open with a short poem called Overwintering. Oh, plant me deep in the soil and let me rest. Last year, I was forced to keep blossoming, to keep sending up shoots like slow whispering fireworks. But this year, I must go back to ground. I must overwinter. Pile up the leaves over the earth and let them break down sticky maple sweet and crumbling softness. Let me feel the tickle of the worms and the heartbeat caress of the mycorrhizal network. We, perhaps more than most, keenly feel the pull of the season. We have not forgotten we are animals. We have not forgotten to keep a close eye on the extra seconds of light or dark each day, on the swelling and shrinking of the lovely moon, and even she must take a day to disappear into the dark each month. We pack our disappearing into the winter. In the spring, we feel the light and it cracks us open, eyes squinting in the bright and dreams spilling out into the world. Sleep escapes us for the summer as we long to feel the grass between our toes, the salt sea kissing our skin, the sun and the breeze blushing our cheeks. We sneeze, sniffing flowers, and as the autumn fattens the crop, we revel in the kicking of leaves and the carving of turnips. We live so deeply in these moments that we need our overwintering to recover, to reflect, to process without the expectation to keep on doing, to make without the pressure of having to share. I am craving my woolens, hoping that no one disturbs my solo time walking with the bare woodland or the foaming tide. I long for the slap of frosty air on the throat and the billow of warmth that greets you on the threshold to home, the tingling of nose and fingertips as they come round from the icy air, to drink too much tea, and to have soup bubbling on the stove, always. Each morning now I will light a candle, rather than risking the screaming buzz of the light bulb. I bathe in the warm flicker on the wick as it dances to each reviving breath I take. I cradle a cup of coffee in my cold hands and wait to meet the winter sun. And all this helps me to be ready when she comes. So long as we can have our moment, I think, I can cope with whatever the day that she lends her cold, crisp light to chooses to send me. Out in the world, I feel like I have to be a Christmas light show, a carefully wrapped gift, a note-perfect carol. But here, in the cocoon of my home, I can let my hair and my head be a bird's nest, its last big idea safely fledged for the season, with no obligation to cradle a precious new egg. Just yet. I can take all of the blankets into the sleeping garden and lay on the crunchy ground to stare at the perfect winter stars. Let the freezing night sparkle light layers of frost on my socks and my gloves. Here in the long dark, I can begin to see even the smallest points of light, so long as I give my tired eyes the time they need to adjust. So please, plant me deep in the soil and let me rest. I must go back to ground. I must overwinter. I'm going to hand back over to Ellie now.
Yes. So, I'm going to bring you into this ritual. Dear one, can you hear it? The stillness of the night, the darkness that embraces us here. December is a holy month. It is the dark, silky silence that descends so early that speaks to me of reverence. Perhaps it is a promise that December holds for us, that no matter how dark, how cold, how empty it can get, the light is coming back. There is something that always shifts in me when December arrives. I embrace the darkness and I am eager for the coming solstice, when the whole world is still and holds its breath, waiting to be reborn again. So what's happening is Gemma is lighting a candle and she'll bring the candle over to us. Here, in the dawning of a lit candle, we can embrace the light together and introduce our first act of the night.
We introduce you to Wendy Young.
Thank you. Beautiful introduction, Gemma, poetry and rituals. Thank you for asking me. It's always wonderful to be included in these amazing events of magical women. Winter wind, you are my element. I sleep when you are high. I am alive when you blow. By the unfolding of my tongue, something wicked this way comes. My voice ripples and rages. It's contagious. It erupts from my tongue's temple. It's lasting, blasting, ecstatic, erratic, sporadic, jovial, jubilant, presenting and questioning voice. Is caring and sharing, love in daring language, eccentric, electric. It's tempered glass to smash, rationed raving, shaving, detritus. It's righteous, revolutionary, revving, brave, brassy, bashy. Trashy, warm bread, tearing, crusty, crumbly, soulful, sparing, spreading spores and stories. It's fortunate, it's desperate. Symbolic, sick and slick, tricky, picky, lip licky, strict and bare, fairground riding, no hiding my voice. Spidery, sprawling, calling, inviting, dust blowing. Uncovert, driving and thriving. It's somber, it's scriby, scratchy, screamy, sky spreading, cloud busting, spitty, speedy, needy, ready. Vocalized, I'm spiritualized, ego, statisticals, dynamic, supportive, informative, my voice. My voice is therapeutic. It's therapeutic. Putrid Cupid, stop spitting on me. Intrepid, rapid, soul of potted gold, cauldron of creation, heating my whole, fills up my holes, my soul of doldrum dramatics, bold grammatics, fathoming this old soul. Poleaxing syntax, forward, onward, word sound power, hiding in the dome of my rock and roll. Reel this spiel, spout and sprout, shout, bulging words, popping jaw, droop to drop, never stopping, my voice. Thank you. I would like to, it's actually the anniversary of my mother's dying, and I want to pay homage. And this poem, I've written many things, but this one, I heard a poem by Seamus Heaney the other night, and it's 10 years since he died, and he wrote a poem about his mother's passing. So this is after Seamus Heaney. Homage to Jenny. Before I knew you were leaving, I was at my happiest, celebrating, finding myself. At last I was going somewhere. We danced, my mates and me, in a West London club to the Gypsy King's cousins, they claimed. My sin was contentment, comfy in thought. I had forgiven you and would deign to visit you. New Year, should have known. My joy would be short-lived that 33rd December 9th, the Thursday. And by the following misty Monday, I wasn't to enjoy my Thornton's toffee. Remember, we loved it. I wouldn't listen to the radio, indulging cosy broadcast heaven. I would for now be unsettled beside myself in shock of immensity never to be felt again. When the deadness returned and returned, I took the call, we all will get some, too young before rifts are lifted, clear for acceptance of who we are and how we got here, our rugged, twisted paths, too cross, too sharp. She had left before I could forgive myself. She couldn't wait for my pleading, bleeding, rendering before I could say, Mother, I love you. She left. Another lonely Christmas was too much, I guess. My sad attempts, forever attempts in poems, acting out my peace never to be. Thank you. I just needed to do that. This is, thank you, because a lot of us lose people at this time of year. So I think this is called Living with Ghosts, Christmas has passed and New Year's out. And it's about childhood, wildhood up north. Carolling with Kath, sweet lambs and Jesus, outside doors of posh houses, being called in to sing at the piano, the fellow we sang to being impressed with our sweet voices. Collecting money to buy presents for family, tiny steel tea strainers in a box from China, Mars bars, Milky Ways, maybe a hanky, weighing up sports mixtures for a penny. Moving on up a couple of years after with Julie B and her brother, we did Sammy Davis moves and Dean Martin voices, apples to eat and nuts to crack. And here we come with a, oh yeah, a rat-a-tat-tat. A ding-dong ding if they had a bell. A tap dance, a wiggle, a spin and a giggle. Our maths teacher opened one door. Bloody hell. Run like hell. Me and Winfred let the new year in. She with white hair, not allowed in. My dark hair, a passport to take in the coal. Miniature bells, whiskies and Tia Marias for various neighbours, distributed by father, reeling from revelling at the New Road Club, by me and my brother to Vienna mother. Next door but one, who'd give us an advocar, but don't tell your dad. Thanks. Thank you. And I've got some other poems here in Word. This is called Candlesticks, as in the river of no return. So it goes. Moths gather round a flame, so the mollycoddled will get theirs fanned. So sure are the popular of their fame, so sure their bullshine, bravado will go untamed. So sure the covert stir will not be exposed, so assured in worshipful ahs and ohs. Swoops of loves and adages, swaddling lines like bandages. Now you know the trickery that duped your younger self. Gullibility and ignorance, though, were allies, egging you on to places of survival. One day woke to realise. Just a joke, accessorising egos, exorcist of their remorse. When the real needy are ignored, left to build bricks, sufficient barriers to keep out any love that the moths now flutter at you in faint wafts that do not touch the edge while you burn. And I know that magical women will understand this with all the stimming. I was trying to describe a glorious, gorgeous sunset. Walking into the blood orange, sucked in by your succulence, suffering, looking, succotash, pumpkin, butternut, squash mash. Rock the Casbah, clash minarets, rock the spiking church bell tower sunset. Orange sand, orange sun. There will be blood, orange, forever in my lemony, alkaline memory. And this is another odd off the cuff one after being contacted, and it sort of sends you into panic and you're not quite sure what to do. Get your wand out and wave it and think, what do I do? It's called Tug. Feeling of a dank piano note behind my left breast. Played and played, the string has no tone, just grates on my chest. Churning sickness of old, feelings of rejection, fear. No matter how the other notes play, this one is dead. Brother calls, wondered how you are, love. Tug. And I think that might be my, if I could just do one more poem, is that okay? Is that okay?
That's absolutely fine.
Great. And I want to do, it's actually, I mentioned the carol singing you did as a kid. It earned you some good money to buy prezzies when I was a kid, and it's quite a safe thing to do and a very cosy thing to do, and something really escapist about it. And this is about me and Julie B and her younger brother, who she always was annoyed that he came along, but unfortunately he died a few years ago. And so it's for Robbie B. R.I.P. Robbie B. National L specs, slick back hair, duffel coat, council house chic. Julie was annoyed you came along, but we all got on when we sang a song. Carol singing in a Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis elan. We three kings, oh little town and donkeys. Me, thee and your Julie. Apples to eat, nuts to crack. Here we come with a rat-a-tat-tat. Or a ding dong ding if they had a bell. Ran like hell when we realised one of the bungalows contained our maths teacher, who opened the door. Something on his face said he didn't like carolers. Maybe he did, but we just fled. To me and Julie, he was Herod. Last time I saw you, Rob, was at the Norman Disco. DJing, of course. You loved your music. We just stared at each other, didn't even speak. And then I heard you were a nightclub manager. Of course, it was in your DNA. It was your destiny. But now I read in the local rag back home that you died. Hard to believe that kid has gone. Rock and roll and away in your manger. Robbie the nice guy, Julie's little brother. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. That was wonderful.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to read out the feedback you got. So, Wendy, thanks for sharing your poem for your mum. I really enjoy the power of your voice and poetry. Beautiful, Wendy. Thanks for sharing. Sorry, I had to go up and down. Wendy, I love how you describe nature with sensual. I've written humming. What I meant was humaning, but they obviously didn't
I
understand
like that.
I made that word that I put in the chat.
Yeah, I do that all the time. It's magical, isn't it?
Emotions, feeling, intersensorial, bodily, so sensitively, sensually done. Lemony alkaline is my new favorite word pairing. How glorious to say. Very powerful. Love your imagery. Bravo. So personal and magical, Wendy. Beautiful. So
thank you so much for listening. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me, Gemma and the gang, and Eleanor and the gang. Thanks a lot.
You're very welcome.
It's going to be a great night.
I know Gemma's the one who's supposed to talk. Let me just find sorry. But it's also because we only have we don't have anyone yet volunteered to do poetry in the first half. So I was going to ask whether Georgia, maybe we'll bring Bethan in first to storytell, and then we could bring you in, Georgia, before the break.
Yeah.
Any preparation?
I don't have anything I've written, but I can do something.
You could do a dance with your arms.
I will perform in some way. Yes.
Okay, so we'll bring in Bethan, our ghostly. Well, I'm going to hand over to Gemma to introduce. I'm going to stop talking. Sorry about this.
No, it's all good. You know, I'm here to, like I said, we're a pairing. So if you have the words, that's fine. I'm here for when you have an economy of.
Oh wait, Andy has a poem. So Andy, would you like to go? It would be lovely for you to share, and then we'll go to Bethan. But I don't want to put you on the spot, so or you can go in the second half as well, whichever's best for you.
Does my microphone work?
Yes. So
okay.
Are you okay for me to spotlight you? Oh, no, you've gone and you've muted yourself.
I will not touch anything.
I will put spotlight on you. Is that okay? Welcome. Thank you so much.
I use this one a lot if I want to be encouraging, but it seemed like it would fit very well with waking after the solstice in the morning. Awake, my queen, and command the full attention of the morning sun. It worships you, no other, as today you forged a future on the anvil on which the universe began.
Wow. Oh, sorry. Have you finished? I
Yeah.
was so taken by your voice. No, like you had me, like I was totally kind of sucked into your, you know, your kind of sort of power. That was wonderful. Thank you.
I can do it again if you like.
I don't know, would everyone like Andy to do it again? Yes, we would.
But I really like short because it makes the audience pay attention.
Well, that's exactly what you did, but I was still waiting. It was wonderful.
Awake, my queen, and command the full attention of the morning sun. It worships you, no other, as today you forged a future on the anvil on which the universe began.
Thanks so much, Sandy. So we've already got lots of feedback coming in, but I didn't have time to write, so I will also write you some feedback. So I'm just going to read out the feedback a little bit.
Would you like me to read while you write?
Yes, Gemma. Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Okay. So we've got command the full attention of the morning sun. And that is a lovely line. That was so beautiful from Oz. Nicola Smith said, yes, please. So that was responding to, we'd love to hear it again. Georgia, love the words and the resonance of your voice. Oz, I really love your poem. You forged the future on the anvil on which the universe began. Another great line. It's so powerful and full of love. That's from Oz. And from Eleanor, Andy, I love the connection to Wendy's poem of the sunset. I love the gorgeous respect you have for the nature. I really love it. So thank you so much for bringing that to the table, Andy. I think we are going to move along to Beth Ann now, but it was so, I'm going to echo those words from Oz again. It was so powerful and full of love. So thank you so much for that gift. I'm going to hand over to Beth Ann now. Beth Ann is one half of Erie Essex, but also has some amazing storytelling as another half of Spectre of the Sea, and is a brilliant folklorist and storyteller in her own right. So get ready to feel a little chill come in.
Hello everyone. Before I start, I think all the kerfuffle of the audio setup, I might have found a way around it. So one last ditch attempt to do the soundscape I had made for this, so bear with me. I'm going to press play. Okay, it's decided to absolutely give up the ghost, which is quite ironic as I'm going to be telling a ghost story. Oh dear, technology. No, it's gone. So you'll just have to listen to my voice, and hopefully that will be enough this evening. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me into this gathering. Tonight is the perfect night for friends to gather together. In this season of Yule, we can drive away the darkness and marvel at what the year has brought us. Sit with me now on this cold, cold night. Outside, the wind has a touch of ice as it weaves through the streets. The stars are hiding behind the clouds that speed across the sky, and the lights on the trees and in the windows twinkle and sparkle through the darkness. Close your eyes and listen. Feel. Let the day's worries melt away and allow your senses to open. A frost has already started to settle and night is upon us. And listen. Listen. Church bells down in the village, a haunting sound in the air. But we are safe and warm and gathered here around a cosy fire. Relax deeper into your seat. Let your shoulders fall and rest. Pull your blanket closer and make yourself comfortable, for I have some tales to share with you. The first tale I'm going to tell you this evening comes from my homeland in Wales. At this time of year, people gather together to celebrate the season marking the dark days with traditions going back centuries. One such tradition is the Mary Lloyd, a spectral figure that marks the start of the celebrations. She is made from a horse's skull, decorated with ribbons, rosettes, glass eyes, and a cape that covers the bearer. She leads a procession of poets, musicians, singers, and merrymakers. They go from door to door, challenging the people who live within to a contest of wit. Back and forth the poems and songs are exchanged until one party gives up. The other, declared the winner, and if it's the Mary, her and her party are invited in and given wine and food. In return, they will provide dance and entertain. This celebration has been handed down generation to generation, and as well as songs, stories are told to a spellbound audience. I first heard this story on a dark and stormy midwinter night in our local pub. The Mary had arrived, and after many poems had been swapped, she had won her prize, and the host of merrymakers came in to the bar where they sang and danced. This went on for many hours until suddenly a hush descended upon the room and the lights were turned down. The oldest member of the party lit a candle and found a chair by the fire. All eyes upon him as he settled. He pulled out this very book, saying, "Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin." And this is the tale that he told. After fighting their last battle against the Saxons, King Arthur and 12 of his men marched toward Craigiedanos in the Vale of Neath. They appeared flushed as they passed through the villages and hamlets. The king was asked if he wanted to rest, but shook his head, and they marched on. In a grassy hollow on Craigiedanos, they sat down to rest, exhausted by the heat and the dust. The sun was setting, and it was so pleasant and cool there that first the king, and then one by one, his men fell into a deep sleep in the silence of the evening. Night fell, and a white-robed figure moved stealthily towards the hollow. An old woman cried out that it was the witch Vivian, but the people said it was only the white mist of the evening, a sure sign that tomorrow would be another hot day. Nevertheless, the old woman decided to see for herself. When she reached the hollow, she saw by the light of the moon that the king and his men were still sleeping. Now more than ever, she was convinced that Vivian the witch had been there and charmed the king and his men into a deep sleep. She resolved to stay there until daylight and see the morning what it would bring. She made herself comfortable on a moss bank nearby and watched the faces of the king and men. The moon disappeared from view behind the hazel bushes, and she was surprised to see the darkness clearly showing the paleness of the men's faces. As she looked, her eyes began to be dazzled by the light shining from their faces. It was so strong that she could almost have been staring straight into the moon itself. Hypnotized by the light of their faces, she slept, and the sun was high in the sky before she woke. King Arthur and his men were gone, and where they had been, there was now an entrance to a huge cave. As the woman approached the entrance, it suddenly shut, leaving only tall grass and hazels behind. The old woman told everyone that Vivian had lured the king and his men into an enchanted hall, the entrance to which, the hollow, but no one believed her. Years passed, and a Welsh drover was standing on London Bridge feeling very tired, having just driven his animals to Barnet Fair. By the look of his clothes, it was clear that he'd been travelling for many days. And in his hand he carried a long stick cut from a hazel. He was about to move on to seek lodging for the night, when an odd-looking stranger asked where he had found the hazel stick. "What's it to you?" The drover irritably and not particularly impressed with the stranger's appearance. "It's nothing to me, but it may be a fortune in gold and silver to you," the stranger calmly replied. The drover was interested in spite of himself and asked the stranger exactly what he was talking about. "Hazel sticks can be used to find treasure," said the stranger. "Tell me where you found it, and I'll let you know where to find the treasure." And so it was that the drover and the odd-looking stranger set out to find the hidden treasure. The day after their arrival in Glamorgan, the drover took the stranger to the grassy hollow, where he had cut the stick, the very same place that King Arthur had fallen asleep. "This is the hollow I saw in my dream," said the stranger. "Fetch a spade and dig where I tell you." The drover did as he was told and began to dig, and after some time digging, the two men unearthed a very broad, flat stone, which they managed to move only with great difficulty. "Don't touch the bell," he was told. And when they entered, he saw the bell the person was talking about. "What would happen if I touched the bell?" "Dreadful things would happen," said the stranger, and motioned the drover to follow him. They entered a large and very broad cave lit by the light of a single lamp, and in the lamplight they saw thousands of soldiers sleeping in a large circle. They were wearing armour, and their shields were beside them, and their swords were unsheathed ready for use. Inside the circle were 12 knights, plus one other easily distinguishable from the others, with his golden crown encrusted with jewels. "The man with the crown is King Arthur," said the stranger. "The others are his 12 knights, and their thousands of soldiers. They are all sleeping until the day dawns that the Black Eagle and the Golden Eagle shall make war upon each other. The noise of this war will be so terribly loud that these soldiers will wake and destroy all the enemies of the Welsh. Then King Arthur will return to rule Britain. He will govern wisely and well, ensuring the peace and justice for all eternity. But God help anyone who sounds the bell falsely." The drover listened in astonishment as the stranger showed him the 2 large piles of silver and gold, next to where his king and his knights were sleeping. "You may enter the charmed circle and take as much as you like from any of the piles, but you cannot take from both piles at the same time." The drover hesitated, but the stranger assured him that the knights were in a deep and magical sleep and could do no harm. Then the drover took as much silver as he could from the pile of silver, but never seemed to get smaller, and they left the cave. The stranger warned him again never to touch the bell under any circumstance. If he did touch it, he was to stay calm and keep his nerve. One of the soldiers would lift his head and ask if it was the day, and if he valued his life, the drover was to tell the soldier that the day had not yet dawned, and he was to go back to sleep. The stranger and the drover then made their way up the steps, and the next morning the stranger took his leave. The drover never saw him again. Day after day the drover visited the hall of enchantment, bringing back gold or silver. As time went by, he prospered, but he began to get careless. One day, when he was entering the hall, he brushed against the bell with his sleeve, causing it to ring. Immediately one of the soldiers lifted his head and asked in a loud and penetrating voice if it was the day. The drover quickly gave the right answer, and the soldier went back to sleep. This happened several times, and each time the drover managed to give the right answer. But one day, disaster struck. Greedily, the drover had taken too much gold and was in an excited mood. Trying to take more than usual, he stumbled and touched the bell. Loudly the bell rang out, and the soldier lifted his head and asked by now the familiar question. Unfortunately, the drover was still too excited to answer straight away, and to his horror, he watched one of the soldiers rise up and take the gold from their hands. Within minutes, the terrified drover was surrounded by soldiers. Then, from their sleep, their eyes glaring at him, their long, bony fingers poised to seize him. He fled for his life, the soldiers following in angry pursuit. Their fiery breath about his neck, and the touch of their fingers on his back like cold steel. Catching hold of him, they dragged the whimpering drover to the middle of the charmed circle, singing a mysterious song, so strong but hoarse voices. There they beat him unmercifully, and took him from the hall and up the stairs to the cave entrance, where they threw him to the ground, yelling exultantly. Then they drew back the stone over the entrance of the cave. The drover never fully recovered from this terrible beating, and from that day on he was a poor man. He and his friends would often go to Craigiedanas, searching desperately for the stone which covered the entrance to the cave. But try as they might, they never found it. Have I got time for more, Eleanor?
Well, how much more?
Not much.
Not much. Short one. Would everyone like a break and come back to Bethan, or would you like Bethan to do another little very short story? That's a big question. That's a very big question. Yes. Someone has answered. Your voice is really beautiful and enchanting. Okay, let's continue with you for another one. No. I know it wasn't about that, but thank you. Yes, okay, yes, very short one, yes.
The old man who told us this story looked up from his book, pleased to see that the audience was hanging on his every word. Encouraged by this, he took a drink and turned to another tale. Music in Wales was a potent weapon in the fairies' armoury. The very folks used the fiddle to great effect, and the bendith I Mamau used the sweetness of their music to charm mortals into their power, and Gitto Bach little children made pleasant music on their harps. Fairy music was so enchanting that many human beings were attracted willy-nilly into the charmed circle of the fairy dance. This happened to a woman from Llanganoid, near my steg, who was spirited away one day by the fairies while she was home with her children making cakes and bread. She was lured outside by one of the finest, most enchanting music she had ever heard, drawn into the fairy circle, and was taken away for 10 years. At the end of this time, 10 years to the very day that she had been taken, she was freed and returned home. She would not believe that she had been taken away for more than 10 minutes. There, once she was home, she lived there until her death in 1864, aged about 91 years old. She used to sing and recite several of the songs the fairies sang while dancing in the fairy rings between Pantanas and Pencraigidaf. She described these rings as greener than the ground around and of a circle or oval shape. They were visible to anyone with sharp, keen eyes, and they varied greatly in size. And one of the songs that she sang began like this. Canu, canu, droi hi nos, dansio, dansio o'r aini ros. Un golenau uchlai dlos, hapus ydym nai. Pawb ohonom sydd I lon, heb I gofid dan I ffron. Cano dansio ar I ton, derddwedd I dymnau. Sing, sing through the night, dance, dance on Vrenny Ross. In the light of the pretty moon, happy are we, each of us merry, without a care under his breast. Sing, dance on the green field, happy are we. The people around the room, sensing he had finished his stories, erupted into applause. The man bowed, and the room was alive with everyone sharing stories with each other of their own encounters and tales their grandparents had told them. Storytelling is such a wonderful and important part of our culture. Sitting together tonight to listen to stories where our world and their world have met keeps the magic alive. So when you leave here tonight, pass these tales on, share with friends and family, and the magic this Christmas, and you will become part of the story.
The spotlight on Gemma. Gemma doesn't mind, you see, when I put the spotlight on her, even when she's not talking. But Gemma, Sparky says that was marvelous about your stories. Lovely. That was enchanting. In the light of the pretty moon, happy are we. Tales their grandparents told, our world and theirs. Your voice is really beautiful and enchanting. Arthur definitely got about. There is a Yorkshire tale similar to this set in Richmond Castle where the knights are sleeping. The Maori, is it Lloyd? Bone Cold Winter, a reminder of the precious life. I'm going to spot you back because there you go. Bone Cold Winter, reminder of the precious life that those who answer the door are lucky enough to hold within our trembling goose pimpled skins. I love the book appearing. Magic.
Lovely. That was lovely.
My dog Molly has come in to listen.
Hello, Molly.
Love the imagery of the Mary Lloyd and the contest of wit. Yeah, beautiful.
I was very lucky to have witnessed it. It's dying out as a tradition, but we were very excited when they turned up at the pub on Christmas Eve, and it was quite a wild night, as it should be.
Would everyone like to have a break of like maybe 5-10 minutes, and then we will begin with, I'm just looking, I think it's Lauren.
Yeah, Lauren's next on the list. But yeah, that'll give everyone time to make a cup of tea.
Yeah, so back in, should we say 8 minutes? 10 minutes, 8 minutes.
Yeah, I'll hop back on in 8 minutes' time just to start welcoming people back.
Okay.
People would like to make their way back to their screens. It's not normally something we get encouraged to do, right? Fantastic. So if everybody's here, I think we shall move along. So next, after our lovely break, we'll be soothed back in with some gorgeous music from Lauren.
I'm not sure how soothing it's gonna be, but it's definitely music. um, I was thinking today that I don't actually I haven't written a Christmas song, so I might have to do that now, over the holiday and finish the half-written ghost story song I've got. But until then, this is a new song. Well, it's not new for me, but it is new to the world. It will hopefully be coming out next year, but obviously next year is not that long now. It will be a single next year, so I'm very excited for that. I was working on it today. It's called Write This Out. There's something building under my skin. A restlessness, breathlessness, desperation. It's filling me up until I can barely breathe. A toxic relationship with myself, how do I leave? Pen onto paper, let it all pour out. From my favorite songs to the deeply buried doubts. Everyday moments I never wanna forget, but I'm scared I will. And they build up, they build up, they build up, they build up, they build. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me, out of me. There's a rush of relief, I can feel my hands shake. And I try to repair the stress fractures my mind makes. I start to think that everything will be alright for a while. Like, yeah, I've got this handled, but the panic comes back every single time. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me, out of me, out of me. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me, out of me. I try to resist, I try to stop it, just thinking about it has my stomach in knots. The harder I try, the harder it gets. If I don't write it down, I know I'll forget. I'll forget who I am, I'll forget what I've seen, I'll forget everything that's important to me. I store it away so I know that it's safe, 'cause memories only ever fade. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me, out of me, out of me. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me, out of me, out of me. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me, out of me, out of me. Thank you. I know, like, my guitar is doing this like space guitar thing. Like, is that annoying for people? Because I can turn it off. Like, I think it's quite cool, but if it's like
I kind of
bothering
like
you-
it.
if it's bothering your eyes, I can turn it off.
Space guitar.
Space guitar.
Bass guitar is a hit.
I would love, like, if anyone knows how to like paint space, I would legitimately buy a new guitar and let them paint space on it.
Bethan has just put her hand up.
Please do. We'll talk about that afterwards.
Bethan is an incredible artist and can definitely paint the best skies ever.
That would be very cool. So my second song, I can't remember what I played at Halloween. Hopefully I didn't play this one so that it's nice and new. This is called Ocean. I live on the south coast, but I went to university in London, and every time I came back home I was just like, oh my gosh, there's the ocean, I can breathe again. So I had to write a song about it, and I have no idea when this will be released. I just know that it will because I love it so much. Tired of pretending I'm fine, of killing time in cold daylight. I'm so sick of all the edges cutting into me, draining all the color, all the possibility. Leave behind the city streets that never fit me comfortably. Take me home where I can breathe. The ocean still remembers me. We collide with so much noise, always moving with no other choice. I never feel as lonely as I do in those big crowds. Back to old horizons, I'm sure of it now. Leave behind the city streets that never fit me comfortably. Take me home where I can breathe. The ocean still
Thank you so very much, Lauren. We
Thank
got some
you.
really lovely feedback. That one really filled me with tears and wonder. I am thinking of approaching you, Lauren, for a full-on concert. So like a live online concert. You know,
I would
with
love to.
yeah, basically, yes. So I will be approaching you for that. So yes, because lots of the comments are sort of echoing that.
Would you like to read the feedback, Ellie?
Yes, yes, you do that because I am scrolling through. Yes.
Okie doke. So we've got Oz, rock and roll. I think that was like at the beginning. But you know, it's true. I have to write this out of me. Lovely. One a lot of us can relate to, I'm sure. Sparky says, hard relate with this song. Not hard to relate, the opposite descends into over explanation, but like I get we get what you mean, Sparky. Ellie says, stimming at its finest. I have to write this out of me. I have to write this out of me. I have to write it out of me or I'll forget. Brackets always. And then love the space guitar, so cool. So that is a hit. I love the space guitar in capitals from Sparky. Ellie says, making me be filled with wonder and tears at the same time. Sparky says, the sea definitely resonates as familiarity, even though I didn't grow up near it. Went to uni in Aberystwyth, and seeing the North Sea en route to Scotland both feel homely. That the ocean is the one thing apart from the stars fast enough to quiet my brain for a moment. Nicholas
Really?
asked how we can buy Lauren's music, so I will get people to leave links at the end, but if we leave it till then, they'll be easier to find. I love how the ocean remembers me too. Yep. Georgia has clapped, so that's positive, I would say. Beth Ann says, absolutely beautiful. Wendy, yes, ocean is everything. Yes, write it out of me. Universe is adding letters.
Thank you guys. That has made my day. It's been a very stressful few days, so that has made my day.
Sorry, that was my dog shaking, if you heard that. So she was sleeping quietly while Beth Ann was reading and while you were playing, and now she's off again.
Yes, I had to banish my dog. She likes to put her paws on like the neck of my guitar, and it's very cute, but it's not very helpful. That's kind of her motto on life. Very cute, but not very helpful.
So I think, sorry, Eleanor, I've completely.
It's Georgia Andrews, but she has to. They have to put their camera on in order for me to spot.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying to turn it off, and I was like, it's already off. In the message it said off. So I was like, ah.
There you go. Here you go.
Thank you. Yeah, I haven't. I have not prepared because I wanted to be focused on access supporting, but I'm gonna do. I mainly perform like the acts I create are I like rely on a physical audience interaction, their drag, and also on prep time. So I'm doing Shakespeare. I'm actually doing speech which is not to do with winter. Everyone is like, oh, now is the winter of our discontent. That means winter is now. But he goes on to say he's made glorious summer. But I'm still going to do it because I think it chimes with this sort of slightly spooky, slightly mystical, and in my interpretation of Richard pro disability angle as a disabled artist myself. So that's what I'm going to do. I hope it's enjoyable. And I throw on a hat because I feel like he would wear this hat. Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York, and all the clouds that lowered on our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now are our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our Stern alarums changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front, and now, instead of mounting barbed steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers, nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute. But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking glass, I that am rudely stamped, and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph, I that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I halt by them. Why, I, in this weak, piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time, unless to spy my shadow in the sun and descant on mine own deformity, and therefore, since I cannot prove a lover, to entertain these fair, well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain, and hate the idle pleasures of these days. Plots have I laid, inductions dangerous, by drunken prophecies, libels, and dreams, to set my brother Clarence and the king in deadly hate, the one against the other. And if King Edward be as true and just as I am subtle, false, and treacherous, this day should Clarence closely be mewed up about a prophecy which says that G of Edward's heirs the murderer shall be. Dive thoughts down to my soul, for here they come. Thank you. That's it. It gave me so many thoughts as I was doing it, because I haven't been him in a while, that it really feels like someone who isn't weariness, someone has said, like, who actually wasn't like that at first, and is like, it is all you see. It's like their mask is a villain. And I knew someone like that, and I always think of him when I do this, that like he was like, well, I've only ever seen myself represented as the villain, so like I want to be a Bond villain in my real life. I want to be that way. And it's an aspect of masculinity that sometimes I notice in myself, of like, as someone physically disabled and neurodivergent, that it's like that's one of the options, and one of the not many options. I find that character articulates it really well. I hope it was enjoyable. And also there's a Lord of Misrule element that I think, even though it doesn't have to be set in winter, I always see it as like around Christmas time, around like 12th night time, and everything's dark and seasonally low, because he's that Lord of Misrule figure as well, like kind of starting things in a trickster way. Like the first time we see him is in a previous play, and it's like quite low level, like messing with someone's marriage, and then but it gets to this point and it's escalated to the political state. So hope that was fun, even if you don't like Shakespeare.
Great, thank you. Yeah, on that note, I will read some of the comments. I did put the speech in the chat as well, just for anyone who might like to have looked at it or wants to kind of dive deeper. Sparky says it captures the weariness and the self-resignation. Yes. Beth Ann says, loved it. I hate Shakespeare, but loved that. Major compliment, heart eyes. Letting others write our story because we're exhausted. I think that's something that a lot of us might chime with. Ellie says, I felt the emotions ooze from you. The words become embodied and humaned by you, which is great. So thank you so much.
Thank you. My goal is like people that hate Shakespeare like the way I do it. Like I want to annoy the right people and attract the right people. And in my practice, that is like a gender non-conforming and like low income working class approach to Shakespeare, which is what it originally was as well, that's been departed from.
So Nicola's also added, I think there's something really fresh hearing this spoken online, focused on your face and that questioning of gendered, non-gender narratives. So yeah, definitely underpins Right, we have got another fantastic performer for you now. So we're going to move over to Sparky, but do continue to write comments if you have any other thoughts that come up. Thanks, Sparky.
Hi, so you said you've got another fantastic performer coming up, and I was hoping for the words "and then Sparky," but that's that starts as I mean to go on. Really, self-deprecating. This has been brilliant. This has been a fantastic evening, and I always love everything that Magical Women do. So thanks, Eleanor and Gemma and Georgia and everyone. So I'm going to do a couple, if that's okay. I'm going to do a couple of short poems and then a song, if that's all right. If that's, I won't keep you too long. So I'm kind of trying to think of ones that sort of appropriately like fit the, I suppose, this sort of midwinter state, and a lot of like the natural kind of imagery that people have come up, and it's like frantically sort of ruling stuff out. Nope, that's about poo. Nope, that's about there's a lot of that one's about A roads. Nope, no, not that one, not that one. So I've got so it's a couple of short sort of ones which I've kind of gone for a bit of a let's say a bit of kind of naturalistic imagery. God, that sounds like such a lazy analogy. Imagine I've just said something really clever, and let's go with that. This is called OK Boombox. Humming, echoing vibrations, asinine. Moisture from the residue of your bile from source to estuary. Mouth of the humbug. Second-hand vitriol fabricated by mopped media magnate in the tie that everything will be okay once this seismic shift has been made mindset. Back to where we were, but where we were was never where we went or what we wanted. Interpret and appropriate what you want from half-baked misinformation to justify your agenda. Point the finger of aggression while pleading persecution as the lanes widen. Those on the back burner may be left behind, but sovereignty is the goal, whatever the cost. Why do we strive for isolationism and then claim we're in it together? So that's, I haven't read that one for a while, and I realised it's probably actually a bit far more political than I remember, but I'll go to another short one. This is kind of more nature based. It's not about pooing or A roads. That comes later. Not tonight. Don't worry. This is quite literally called Park. I'm very fortunate that I live just across the road from a park in Bedford. The imaginatively titled Bedford Park. I mean, the flat I live in is like the only sort of modern building on a road of otherwise sort of I think they're kind of Edwardian 3-story houses, and I wouldn't be able to afford to live here if I didn't get my universal credit. So hashtag got dull scum klaxon. But yeah, looking from the inside, there's lots of greenery around me, and even when they have concerts in the summer, and then they keep like trying to ruin my ears with the likes of Simply Red and Sting and stuff. But other than that, it's it's quite a nice lush surroundings. So I'm kind of over explaining it because it creates a bit of context to the poem. It's called Park. Imaginatively titled. I would lie from sunset to dusk on your greenery, delve nature's dirt if my fragile mind and frame would allow it. I bear my behind in defiance of the signs made by grown-ups. I suppose there was a bit of stuff about bums there. Ordering me to keep off. Warden, gatekeeper, officer, as real as I want them to be. Let's build some bombs of pleasure, plant them in the shrubbery, hide on the other side until the damage subsides. Nothing to harm us and no one to fear. We don't have to go home because we're safe here. So that's the second short poem. I always say that, like, I'll do a couple of short ones, and then I spend about 20% of the time doing the actual piece, and the other 80% kind of over explaining and disappearing off on a little kind of tangent. It's a bit of trigonometry for you, though. Is that trigonometry? Tangent, cosine, sine. Scientific calculators. Sweet, I don't make anymore. So that's disappearing on a bit of an accident. Over explaining, contextualizing the poem. Thanks, Eleanor. So yeah, trying to deliberately parody Partridge there. Speaking of partridges, hope you've all got your pear trees and stuff are suitably attired with ladies dancing and turtle doves and whatnot. I'm going to actually, funny enough, Lauren saying that she doesn't have a Christmas song. I decided to dig the one out that I've only ever played once before, also on a live stream, this time 3 years ago, back when that was definitely the style of the time. So there was I think it was just before one of the big lockdowns, and also Barbara Windsor had passed away that day, so I kind of had a bit of a tribute to her by telling everyone to get out of my pub right at the end. So yeah, this is I'll keep this short and as short and sweet as is possible, bearing in mind we've still got Emma's fantastic stuff to come up to conclude with. So this is my attempt at a Christmas song. It's called It's Not Christmas Till I'm Ready. Where's the grey area between humbug and manic dream fairy? It rarely snows, and when it does, it's usually February. Where raise dissenting voices when the voices of the kids are singing. No time for hibernation, and from insects and bells that are ringing. Let's not give ourselves a tummy ache. Let's keep things slow and steady. It can't be Christmas till I'm ready. Brief pause to scroll down on my screen. The supermarket's queue stretch all the way back to the ring road. I only came here for some candy kittens and some loo roll. Let's not get sentimental over all the hows and whys of Advent, when it brings instant wonga to the sleazy men in suits from Mad Men. But I digress, it's not about me. It won't be Christmas till I'm ready. See? And this is the middle eight where I tried to reference as many Christmas number ones as possible. Don't wish it could come every day, but it's just begun and that's okay. I'll step into it when I'm ready. Maybe I'll stay another day. Two becomes one, I contemplate having a wonderful time. Well, flip me, I just did what they told me. And And if I have no festive cheer, I'll stick out like a sore thumb. No pictures of 10 a.m. beer top of the pubs with my mum. No excess sellotape from shoddy wrapping through my dyspraxia. I'll forget Jurassic Park or that my Rudolph socks weren't meant to flatter. But let's remember it's about finding our inner peace together or alone. We could shoot ourselves some drones, or maybe just stay home, or perhaps just console our child who's terrified of their singing Santa Teddy. Christmas, I'll let you know when I'm ready. I saw Mommy kicking Santa's ass.
Great stuff, Sparky.
Hey.
There's been
Thank you.
loads
No,
of
that was,
comments.
thanks for giving me the slightly the platform which I've taken maybe slightly unprecedented liberties with, so I'm going to stop talking now.
No, thank you for taking the space.
That's the camera.
I'll spotlight myself 1 second, or just remove it. There you go. Right.
I will read through some of the comments. So we've got Go Sparky, Mouth of the Humbug with a big smile. That was a great line. Ellie says, I've been writing a lot about echoes recently. Those on the back burner might be left behind. Claim we are in this together. Wendy, Snappy and Go-Go. Molly returned, so the canine approval continued. Thank goodness there is some little help still. I think that was in relation to some of your context, so I will just move that past. We don't have to go home because we're safe here. Love these and loving the tangents from Bethan. Lots of enjoyment through laughing. So Ali has put down over-explaining equals contextualizing the poem, and we all like people to do that. We love the context, so that's good. I love your intros. We all do them and they're brilliant. Georgia says, yes, I love hearing people's talk intro as part of the personality of the performance. Ellie says, I wanted to do Ha Ha to the Park, then you mentioned other stuff, and then the Ha Ha wouldn't have been good because of my slow processing. Sing the trees back to being. I like the in-between talking about the work, context. It feels like it's all part of your performance. I've always said this to Sparky from Eleanor. Bethan says, my pear tree is knackered, but this is helping. And it's not Christmas till I'm ready. I love that. And I think we've ended up with, we need a new Christmas song, scrolling down the screen, so relatable, yes. When it does, it's usually February, Ha Ha Tree, then we slip about on slushy brown snow. Great middle eight, it was truly spectacular. Flip Me, lots of laughing from Rachel at the Rage Against the Machine. More highly relatable lols. Let's do a single, Sparky and the Magicals. Very nice from Lauren. Wow, so cool. Love your poetry, talking, singing, humor. When's your solo show? So that's where we've ended up with. Just a little conscious of time, so I'm going to hand over to another of our headline acts. Sandwiched, we had Wendy at the beginning, and now we've and Lauren in the middle, like a lovely club sandwich, and now we're ending with Emma. So I'm just going to pass over to you.
Oh, is that to me?
Yes.
Hello, can people
Sorry,
hear me?
yes, it is.
Yes, Emma, sorry, I muted myself.
Oh well, hello everyone. Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed listening to this night's a collection of poetry and song, and yeah, I hope you enjoy mine as well. So I'm going to read two short poems and then one longer, which is more like a story. So just let me put it up in front of me so I can see what I'm doing. Dun 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 dun. Okay, so this first one's called Watanamo Cave, and it's a cave that exists in New Zealand, and it's famous for having a lake, which is above the lake is a ceiling of glowworms. And when I was around 10, 13, I went on a holiday with my family to it, and I wrote a poem about it when I was older. So that's what I'm going to start with. Ooh. Watanamo Cave. I float out in a small wooden boat to a place that has never been warmed by sun. And, other than our guide's torch, darkness is absolute. Quiet is dense, thick as the stone. I breathe in stale, moist air, lungs filling with ammonia. Zipping my coat up to my chin, I watch black ripples surround the boat, the mirror water broken only by our oar. Our guide switches off his torch, pulling the paddle in. Faint constellations begin to reflect in the still. I look up to the jagged ceiling, now freckled with light. Eyes adjust and the cave brightens. Multitudes of beads dangle, illuminating the ceiling like the delicate chains of a chandelier. Every saliva-silvered string a ghostly necklace, the last finery of fluttering prey, each bedazzled thread a vertical web, light lures, providing false hope in darkness. Shining pendulums of gluey tendrils swing to and fro, ensnaring moon-starved moths who thrash like dusty kites. Flickering hungrily against daggers of tooth-white stalagmite, glowworms detect tugs against thread and reel in their catches. My own neck, lassoed within the silk of scarf, jolts as we hit a rock. I pray that the faint light at the end of the tunnel, entering the mouth of this stone-fanged cave, will be less fortuitous. So that's my first one. And I'm going to read another short one, which is a little less ominous, and it's called Equinox. And me and a friend, we live quite near the sea, so we went and we had an art day, and she drew this beautiful picture of the sunset that looked like magic and fairies, and she left it at my house to dry, and as it was drying, I wrote a poem about her picture of the sunset that we had both watched. So I call this one Equinox. As the golden tip of sun slips past the cast of cloud, it drips rose with sugar plum and starlit floating shrouds. Between polka dot streak shadows, glimmers slip and slide until all the light is lost to zebra bands of swirling tide. Pepper silver frosted waves thick with pixie dust. Beneath the pale pink and white sashed evening haze, sea sorceresses season brew and salted sirens sing, commanding the auburn hues of sun to ebb and for its oranged eye to blink, making way for stretching dark to drop, then douse itself in shadowed drink. Night needs the space to soak its strings of spindly stars, while comets cut their way through drips of blackening veil, leaving golden lines of straight and fired tails. These misty ocean nights open every mortal mind and pore, permitting us to feel this planet's pulse, bleeding down from stellar gulfs as we take steps beyond its shore. Drifting amongst these shifting realms, lost thoughts roam, rippling green, kept weighted just beneath the winding current's depth. Charged by night, they foam and swell before being splashed and curled by leaping streams, revealing glossy lips within rippling surface beams. Their bobbing shafts soon shatter, sharpened upon tidal whitened tips, before the pending dawn eclipses all, within its wisps of peachy cream, vaporizing visions into flamingo-tinted dream. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed those two. I've tried to pick out my most sort of magical themed poems for this event. The last one that I'm going to read is a longer one, and it's a story, and it was actually published in Magical Woman's last anthology, and it's called The Crone is Crowned. And it's based on sort of the story of the mother, the maiden, and the crone, but sort of feminizing a piece of land like a bog or a marsh that's normally not seen as very desirable or to live, and showing how, I guess, a group of women can change how like Earth is seen and sort of change how themselves are seen. Anyway, it's a rhyming story, and it took me ages to make it rhyme, so I hope that you appreciate the rhyminess of it. The crone is crowned. Warts web her face so thickly they make patterns. Stray flies stick upon their puss, caught by outstretched nose. The skull of her pet raven strung around her neck, still pecking, permitting her to peer beyond divides of death and time. Hunched over staff of cypress, cloaked in ivy, mud-matted hair housing mice and moorhen egg upon her head, soft moss between her toes, her house she made with clay and logs, a roof of straw and stick, it stands on 4 stilt feet, just escaping bog beneath. Traveller, torch borrowed from the sun, she beams through the glum of dampened blacks and brown, down, down into the earth she burrows, mole-like in her quest. A tunneling titan, goddess, monster. Don't judge spellbooks by their cover. Rippling serpents with just their scaly snouts protruding hide beneath dense floats of lily pad. They S their bodies, squiggling scripts that riddle out. To move across her wettened world, Hecate taps her staff upon a tiled stone. Below it pops a snapping turtle head, its shell her stepping throne. She hops upon its rigid back, afloat upon her living, breathing, bobbled boat, and, with stick in hand, punts through the thick of moated land, caring not about the hems of dampening dress, whilst tending to a patch of penny watercress. Many men have tried to splash past alligator gnashing pools to slay her, but Hecate need not use her magic, for this marsh would not betray her. She blows into the curl of giant ramshorn snail shell, summoning smooth, black-backed, howling hounds from hell. Hand outstretched, she feeds her horde of hunting hound. At night they sit around her fire, chewing bones of savage men, who now will never plague her mire again. Her hounds surround, licking, lapping at her knees and feet with tender tongues. She throws her woodworm staff at least 10 miles, as one they bolt, vaulting vines and trees to get in front. Aflame with torch, she sits upon her wind-worn porch, awaiting their return. In the stern of night, an owl hoots, landing upon her shoulder. All birds' eyes belong to her, to Hecate. She sees it drift amongst the tops of dense tree burrs, opalescent eyes aglow, soaring, scrying, flying amongst shadow fleets of screeching bat. Thick-fattened emerald dragonflies hover over shallow cracks, circling, forever scouting, munching midges, mosquito, gnat. The heads of stretching stalk feather to soften bulrush seed, while Hecate sings along with frogs who croak from nests of whistling reed. Slender-legged, web-foot birds wade across the drabs of shade in hunt of silver-whiskered fish. The squish of tiny tadpole tails gleam, leaving dimple trails across tree-root twisted streams, while pond skaters ply past jelly eggs with elbow-jointed legs. You will not enter this forest swamp without Hecate knowing. She's aware of every red-topped, pointed, speckled, flathead, moistened mushroom growing, akin even to maize roots of mycelium. Her webbed and taloned toes are tapped into electric tapestries, channeling across the algae grease into the crook of crouching trees, alert to every tug, creeping bug, and straying slug caught within the slightest breeze. stirring stews into the veil of night to feed her loyal nymphs and forest sprite, fireflies, creatures protected by Hecate's guise, in dark transcend to starlit skies. Above, with all her twinkling stars abuzz, every ray and wing charging her effervescent torch with silk-lit string, each translucent set of insect winds a window, one for future, the other past. She'll cast light on either if she's asked. Hecate's fingers, when sprung, move much faster than toad tongue. She catches glowing flies mid-air, holding transparent flaps, flapped and tight, tints segmented smooth against the moon's pale white. Hecate stares, consumed by their etheric bright. Perhaps one day she'll share, while glints of fleeting joy might leap to swirl in inked despair. Often, without a lamp in hand, desperate wanderers wade upon her swamp-filled land. On our way we stick to march, our strength sapped by bog, slowed by sludge, tripped by log, feet sucked down, no room to budge. But Hecate sends her glowbugs, glimmering in single file, leading all our stragglers to her shallowed home of sog and swampy isle. Here she uses hands to help, healing those with woman hearts, all weary maidens, mothers, crones, are known and welcome to her hearth. We're wet, we weep. Howling louder than her hounds, she makes us sit and strips us down before we sleep, providing us dry socks, dressing gowns, bowls of chestnut water soup to ease our frowns. We sip at comfort, sip at strength, request to stay, asking her to hold all worry back, keeping it at murky bay, begging first for blessing, pressing our foreheads down upon the earth. We plead to know a source of worth not set, bestowed, or wrought by men, to heal not others but our own heart stem, to strive for more or less than beauty, have the bolster to break from our constricted duties, the power to state that we are sacred, to know as sisters we should break bread, be baptized and birthed anew in clays of mud with hallowed dew, arising not more dutiful nor beautiful, but entwined, intuned to our own smooth muscled minds, mud weaves, massaging strands of weary hair to horn to tusk, arising leeches latched to limbs, extracting toxins, we're changed by forest musk, tightly wrapped in swamp cake dust, coated chrysalis like larvae, we peel out from rolls of clay, emerging more confident in stance, more self-assured, in tune with newt, bird, sap, shoot, and willow branch. Tonight, ordained by briar, we'll dance, cleansed by heat of crimson fire, with crowns of thorn, for now we too possess this mire. When pangs of mortal hunger strike, we seek to hunt with bow, spear, and spike. We want to learn to climb and cut and build. Remember how we're smart and readily skilled. We'll laugh, talk, play, exploring all in water-logged day, then share at dusk, listening, ears upon the ground, in search for sounds of soul, sowing blackened scenes upon wetlands that keep us whole. With stellar leavened light from heaven, earth, and hell, we'll cast our spells, for here we've found a sacred space to hold and tread with human grace. When journeying into the wild wet of wood, with dense green curls of fern, you may not be the same if to the dry you do return. Thank you for listening, everybody.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Ellie, would you like to read the comments this time, or would you prefer me to?
I don't mind. I just need to say to everyone, if you do need to go on the dot of 9, that's fine. We won't be going to overtime, probably just 5 minutes, because I have a babysitter in the other room that I need to let go of. So we'll do the feedback comments for Emma, and then we'll do a very, very short ending ritual, and then we will let you be free into the night. Oh, the comments keep coming, Emma. Yes, this is I'm going to start from the end and go up, because then maybe that might be easier. Love your use of supersensory words and things in the world like snouts. There is something really special about the speed and rhythm of your reading, which is captivating. And then Oz has, I think, given you lots of hugs. Is that the sign of hugs? Yes. You've created a world for me. It's so visceral and beautiful. Love it. I want to find the sanctuary. Pressing our foreheads down on the earth. Oh Emma, this is beautiful. Dry socks, chestnut soup, pale white, smooth against the moon. If she's asked, love that. One for future, the other past. Crouching trees, creeping bug, caught in the trees. Your imagery is gorgeous. Emma, the new Shakespeare of this world, of this night, tonight. And we all use rhyme, but so differently. Love the way everyone's performances share a folkloric essence and yet such individuality of expression. You are making me fly. Oh, the movement. I'd also love a wind-worn porch. Yeah, I really loved that. That was a really beautiful more than a description. I just felt, yeah, just lovely. Wet and
An
world, really.
evocation.
Huh?
It was an evocation.
Evocation. Much better. Yeah. Thank you, Gemma. Gemma's my thesaurus. Wettened world. I really love the sexuality biology you bring to the images. Textural, swirling, sensual, gorgeous layers, vines and trees, fabulous poetry. I'd like a pet raven. So would Jem. And then 3 people like that. So yeah. And then you can really picture well what you want us to imagine. Glittery imagery, yes, glittery rhythm. I saw so many colors and so much rhythm. I love your poems, they're gorgeous. Pulse, bleeding, raw. Ooh, love it. Ooh, a painting drying. I'm going to nick that idea. Have I gone into the... No, we're still there. Okay. What a beautiful way to capture things. Ooh, I want to see it. Lush, lassoed within silk. Moon-starved moths. I love the wording. Freckled with light. Multitudes of beads illuminating the ceiling. And then in brackets, I almost wrote beans. Quiet is dense, thick as the stone, divine.
I think that sounds like it's probably all of the content relevant commentary.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm definitely going to remember Emma the New Shakespeare. That that I'm going to put as a quote on my own reviews. I just want to say I've really enjoyed reading. I'm quite well. I'm multiply neurodivergent, but I am quite verbally dyslexic. So I enjoy writing things, but I actually find them really hard to read out. So I'm so glad I was able not to smudge all the words together.
Emma, I think we're twins now. We got the same initials and we've also got all the same neurodivergent conditions. So it was absolutely amazing, Emma. It was you read it as people read Shakespeare on stage, and we had that rhythm the whole way through. Not one of us fell asleep. It was like we were on the edge of our seats, so really wonderful. Yes, what will happen is everyone who shared their poetry and everyone who got some feedback, I will go through the emails maybe over the weekend or after the weekend, and I will send everyone who came here tonight all the feedback to everyone's sharing. And then we'll also update you with any other more news from Magical Women. So thank you so much. We're going to go over now to Jem, who will end this performance with a very short ritual to send you into the evening night.
So as I explained earlier, I'm going to leave this candle here burning. Just going to add to the things that I described earlier. So with red candle for self-love, it's got some extra little love with some lilac, some nettle for protection, and some chamomile for rest and for soothing. And I'm adding some hops for luck just towards the end, just a little sprinkle. Winter bares its teeth and I grin back. It sends me into fits of giggles. Here we all are, gathering together as we hurtle further into the long dark. Let's close our eyes and allow ourselves to feel ancient. We are in the old place now, and so long as we let ourselves pause to rest, we can astonish ourselves with the very wonder of our existence, our resilience, and our capacity to heal. So keep gathering by the fire with us. Give thanks for the blessings of another year. Tell your stories. Take time to dream. Oh, that one doesn't want to go.
Thank you so very much for joining us this evening. We want to wish you the very best, and we shall see you at another Magical Women gathering.